The wind howled across the snow-covered landscape, carrying with it an eerie emptiness that seemed to stretch for miles. Jack Malone, an ex-Navy SEAL, trudged carefully through the thick drifts, his loyal canine companion Ranger bounding ahead with unrestrained energy. The isolation was exactly what Jack had sought when he purchased the old, weather-beaten cabin for $10, a bargain too good to resist. He had wanted to escape the chaos of civilian life, the endless noise of the world, and find solace in silence. Yet, as he trudged through the snow, a sense of foreboding prickled at the edges of his mind, an instinct honed from years in the military. Ranger suddenly froze, ears pricked, growling low in his throat. Jack followed the dog's gaze to a dark shape partially buried in the snow, dangling limply from the branch of a leafless tree. His breath hitched at first. Jack thought it was a trick of the wind or a discarded coat flapping in the cold. But as he approached, the horrific reality set in. The body was real. An officer, young and clearly exhausted, left to die in the merciless winter. Jack's military training kicked in instantly. He rushed to untangle the rope, his hands numb but precise, while Rangers circled warily, growling at the bitter cold that had claimed this man's worth. Once the officer was safely on the ground, Jack assessed him quickly. He was unconscious, but alive, frost creeping across his exposed skin. Jack stripped off his own heavy jacket and wrapped it around the officer, shivering violently as he realized just how close the man had come to death. "Hang on," Jack whispered, more to himself than to the officer. "You're not going anywhere tonight." Ranger nuzzled the officer's shoulder gently, as if sensing the gravity of the moment. The cabin was just a half-mile away. A tiny structure with a sagging roof and windows frosted over from years of neglect. Despite its shabby appearance, it promised warmth and safety. Jack hoisted the officer over his shoulders, with Ranger trotting beside him, alert and vigilant. Every step was a battle against the biting wind, but Jack's determination didn't waver. The man's life depended on it, and the thought of leaving him out in the snow was unthinkable. Inside the cabin, Jack laid the officer on the creaky floorboards and started a fire, coaxing life into the small metal stove. The officer's breaths came shallow, his lips tinged blue, but slowly the warmth began to seep into his frozen body. Jack tore apart his own rations, forcing water down the man's throat when he could, murmuring encouragement like a father or a brother, refusing to let despair creep in. Ranger lay close to the officer, offering silent support, a four-legged guardian against the cold and the dark. Hours passed, each one heavier than the last. Jack had no way of knowing who this man was or why he had been abandoned, but the sense of duty he felt transcended curiosity. It was enough that this human being needed help, and Jack's own pain, loneliness, and past traumas took a backseat to the pressing urgency of saving a life. As the fire crackled, the officer's eyelids fluttered, and a weak groan escaped his throat. Relief flooded Jack's chest. "You're gonna be okay," he said firmly, though his voice cracked with emotion. Once consciousness returned, the officer looked around, dazed and bewildered. Jack offered a reassuring smile. "You're safe now," he said simply. The man's eyes, wide and glistening, reflected disbelief and gratitude. I thought I was done for," he stammered. Jack shook his head. "Not on my watch." There was no time for explanations yet. The priority was warmth, food, and rest. As dawn broke, casting a soft glow through the frosted windows, Jack and Ranger had nursed the officer back to a semblance of strength. Over a simple breakfast of canned beans and water, The officer began to tell his story. He was Lieutenant Alex Harper, part of a search and rescue mission gone wrong, separated from his team during a sudden blizzard. Injured and disoriented, he had stumbled into the woods and been left vulnerable to the elements. His words were halting, but Jack listened, silent and patient. There was no judgment here, only the quiet acknowledgement of human fragility and resilience. Days passed, and the officer slowly regained his strength under Jack's watchful eye. The cabin, once a refuge for a man seeking solitude, became a sanctuary of hope and recovery. In those days, Jack realized something profound. True strength wasn't measured by combat skill or survival alone. It was found in the willingness to give oneself entirely to another's well-being without expectation of reward. Ranger seemed to understand this too, his loyalty unwavering, his presence a constant source of comfort. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the snowy landscape in shades of pink and gold, Alex asked Jack a question he hadn't dared to ask before. "Why did you risk so much for a stranger?" Jack leaned back in his chair, eyes reflecting the firelight, and smiled faintly. "Because I could," he said simply. "Because no one should face death alone if there's a chance to help." It was the kind of honesty that resonated deeply, a principle so simple, yet so powerful. In the following weeks, Jack and Alex formed a bond that went beyond gratitude or obligation. They shared stories of fear, loss, and courage, of nights spent on missions where every decision meant life or death. And through it all, Jack discovered that saving another person's life could also heal his own wounds, invisible though they were. Ranger became a bridge between the two men, a reminder that love and loyalty could transcend words. Eventually, Alex's team found them, guided by GPS coordinates he had managed to transmit before being stranded. The reunion was tearful, emotional, a testament to human connection and the enduring spirit of those who risk everything for others. Yet as Alex prepared to leave, he turned to Jack with a seriousness that pierced the quiet of the cabin. "I don't think I can ever thank you enough," he said, voice thick. Jack shook his head. "You don't have to," he replied. "Just live your life fully. That's thanks enough." As they departed, Jack watched the helicopter lift Alex and his team into the sky, the snow sparkling in the morning light. Ranger trotted beside him, ears alert, tail wagging gently. Jack felt a sense of peace he hadn't known in years. The cabin, cheap and unassuming, had become a place of transformation, where selflessness and courage had intersected to create life from near death. It was a reminder that even in the harshest conditions, humanity could shine bright. Weeks later, Jack would tell the story to no one in particular, just as much for himself as anyone else. He spoke of the officer, of the snow, of the bond formed in adversity. But he also spoke of kindness, of the quiet heroism that doesn't seek recognition, and the power of choosing compassion over indifference. And in that telling, Jack realized that what had started as a solitary retreat into the wilderness had become a testament to the best of what humans could offer one another. Ranger lay curled at his feet, eyes half closed, and Jack placed a hand on the dog's head. "We did good, buddy," he whispered. And for the first time in a long while, he believed it. Out there, in the vast, unforgiving expanse of snow and silence, two men and a dog had discovered the most enduring truth of all, that courage, compassion, and the choice to act could change everything. In the end, it wasn't the cabin, the snow, or even the near-death experience that mattered. It was the decision to help, to care, to stand by someone when no one else would. That choice, Jack knew, was worth far more than $10, worth far more than any accolade or medal. It was priceless. And so, Jack, Ranger, and the memory of the officer they saved remained a quiet reminder that humanity's light can shine brightest in the darkest of winters, and that sometimes the simplest acts of kindness have the power to transform lives forever.